Hello, Matt Lenaw with Artist Hardware here. We're going to do another quick little video tutorial highlighting our Sensu brush, which is fabulous, and thought we would try doing something in Artrage today, which is one of my favorite painting applications. There's one I did last night, pepper on plate, and we'll try another one showing you there's tons of different ways to use any of these apps, but one of my favorite ways to do it is to import a photograph that you've taken and then use layers and rough it out, and Artrage has this great feature that allows it to grab colors from your photograph. So let's just go through. We're going to do a picture of my son Sam. If I can find the one that I liked. Oops. Maybe it's on the stream. A lot of photos. A gajillion of them. Here we go. So I had gone in and cropped this earlier. So I've imported this picture, and you import that down in here. And then the UI itself is pretty nice. It does a lot of things. It's really trying to replicate an artist's toolbox. So you get a paint bucket, eraser, chalk, crayons, markers, ruling pens, pencils, ink, roller, airbrush, and watercolor, and oil brushes. And each of these, when you select them, say for example, I've just selected the oil brush, when you have further selections that you can get for each of the tools. It's pretty amazing. So one of the methods that I like to do is import a picture, drop it in. I'll wind up having a couple of layers, and I'll do that now. What I frequently do is essentially replicate what I do when I'm doing a real oil painting. And so I'm going to put down a little color in the background, a little underpainting essentially. I like using pink. I'm going to have a little glare here. It is a beautiful day in Austin. Okay, I'm going to switch back to my oil. Actually, so I got this layer with the underpainting on it. I'm going to go to the top layer, and I'm going to grab my pencil. And I'm just going to kind of rough in a couple things here. As with a lot of the apps, it uses a great multi-touch. So you can zoom in, zoom out. When you grab it, it actually shows you what you've drawn. So it removes the image that I've imported. So now I'm going to leave that layer. I'm going to have one more layer. I'm just going to leave that line for later. So I'm going to work in between that the base layer and then the line art layer. Now with this great feature is you can go in and tell it to choose colors from the image. So if you do a little pre-production and adjust your photograph before you even import it, you can control this even more. But now, and actually the multi-touch allows you to adjust the size of your brush. You can see it up there above my fingers. So now it's fun to go in and you can grab those colors, and wherever you touch down, the color that the Sensu's making contact with is what you pick up, and you keep pushing that around until you lift up the brush again. I got to tell you, when I found this feature, I sort of squealed a little bit. It was pretty exciting. Squealed is not a very manly word, I suppose, but I was pretty darned excited about it. This is the latest version which they've updated for the iPad 3, which this is not. This is the iPad 2. Actually, I can do something now that I have some areas where I can turn that off if I want. This gets even more magical when it looks like this. One of the very few complaints I would have about Artrage is it can be kind of laggy sometimes, a little bit slow. Like that, just... But, I don't know, it's otherwise pretty amazing. I don't know if that's any better with the iPad 3, but because as I understand it, really most of that increased processing capability, the iPad 3 is really to support the Retina display. So I don't know how much performance improvements. Okay, stop it. Yeah, I guess Artrage wants that. We'll leave it. So, I tend to just work in, rough that in with a big brush. I'm going to turn this back on for a second. Just because I want to see where the kid's nose is here. Because I'm going to kind of want to hit those shadows at the right time. I'm going to make that brush a little bit smaller. And actually, it's kind of the same way I work when I'm in real oils. I really don't use that many brushes. There's way too many brushes available. Sorry if you're a fan of the big brushes. That's cool. It's just me. Come in there. I mean, seriously, this is just, it's like the first time you developed a photograph, and if you're too young for that. Some kids have never experienced that joy of taking a picture and developing their own film, and then processing it in the darkroom, where it's just amazing to see the image come up. This really reminds me of that whole process. It's pretty magical. This is a really fun application. Sorry. That looks... Oops. Sorry, we got a lot of glare here. I don't know how well this is all translating, but always nice to keep handy. A little brush to clean with. So, okay. So that's kind of fun, right? Not just for the sake of making this a quick demo. I can turn that off. Say I'm happy with that. All right. I mean, typically what I would do is go in. I'd make that brush even smaller and come in and start maybe adding a few details. And you can see this is acting like real oil here. I mean, it's those are tiny, tiny lines. So if that oil is wet and you make a mark, except that there's no marks being made there. What the heck? Yeah, they are. It's just blending. It's just like if you were using regular oil. Now what you can do is add another layer. So you've got a fresh layer, and you can work over the top of that, and you can see it makes those marks. You may or may not want to do that. You can always undo, which is really exciting. So you can see, oh, look at that, my goodness. You can always merge these down too, just like if you were using Photoshop. I have no idea if my son Sam would be excited that I'm using this for a demo, but I just think that's so fun to have it pick up the color. So you can get pretty lost in this. And the brush makes it feel great. It just, it stays smooth and glides. And if you've used the iPad before, I mean, even it's happening just when I'm using the multi-touch. Your fingers can kind of stick on the screen, and it's not exactly the most fun. Okay, so anyway, I don't know if that was an improvement or not, but I can always turn that off. It's a little more dramatic there, isn't it? I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to go down into the bottom layer. I'm going to grab my eraser, and I'm just going to take some of this out. I like, just with my regular paintings, I like to, I'm pretty fast. I like to see a little bit of the underpainting. This is kind of cool. It moves in and out of the way when you're working. The interface is nice on this. It's got a nice little eyedropper feature. Actually, let's merge that down. I'm going to merge that layer down. So now I'm back to 3 layers. And what you can do is, which is sometimes fun, so I pick that color, and now I'm working in that color. Which is neat. So that was a quick overview of the, it's really the oil painting brush in Artrage, and this is a great app. I want to say it's about $4 or $5 in the App Store, and I'm Matt from Artist Hardware, and I'm showing you the Sensu brush, which will be available online through sensubrush.com. Thanks for listening.